Okay, good morning, everybody. It's Miss Bailey. Chopped off. Okay, so I'm recording a little video about elapsed time, and elapsed time is how much time goes by from the start of an event to the end of an event, or from a starting time to an ending time. And this is a really important life skill. Helps you with planning to know if you have enough time to get from one place to another or from one event to another. And we have to be able to calculate time. And it seems pretty easy, but when you get into it, depending on how much time has elapsed, it can get a little bit tricky. So the first thing we have to do is to know how to read an analog clock and start with the right starting time and the right ending time. So this little activity, we have a sheet here that has an example already done for you, but we will write the starting time, we'll write the ending time, and then we'll calculate how much time has elapsed or gone by from the start to the end. And then I have like a little chart I've set up over here just to kind of help us calculate. And so while you're learning and getting used to doing this, I recommend using this little chart. So when I send it to you on Seesaw, I'll attach this chart for you. Okay, so they've done number one for you, but we're going to look at it anyway and kind of go over it together. So our starting time, we know that the shorthand of a small hand on a clock is pointing to the hour. And then the longer hand or the big hand points to the minutes. So the hour, it's pointing to the 3. And then the minutes is pointing straight to 12. And we know on a clock, then when it's pointing straight up at 12, that means o'clock, or that's the time 3 o'clock, which means 3 and 0 minutes after the hour of 3. So we don't know by looking if it's AM or PM, and this doesn't really tell us. But for this exercise, it really doesn't matter. So most of us aren't up at 3 a.m., so we'll just assume it's 3 p.m. Okay, so it's 3 o'clock. And then the end time, the hour hand, which is the small hand or the short hand, and they've actually put it in red. So they've color-coded them for you. So the hour hand is between the 4 and 5. Notice it's not pointing exactly at 4, and it's not pointing exactly at 5. When it's between 4 and 5, that means it's after 4 o'clock, but it's not to 5 o'clock yet. So it's 4 something. So we know the hour will be 4. When it's between 4 and 5, the hour is 4. Because it's more than 4 o'clock, but less than 5 o'clock. So we'll put a 4 there. And then we have to figure out the minutes. How much after 4 o'clock is it? Well, the minute hand or the big hand, or in this case, the blue hand, is pointing to the 6. But it's not 4:06. We know that for minutes on a clock, every time the hand goes around one number, that's 5 minutes. So we start at the 12 and we count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So when the minute hand or the big hand is pointing to the 6, that's actually 30 minutes after 4. 30 minutes after the 4, we typically just say is 4:30. So that means the hour is 4, and it's 30 minutes after the hour of 4, so it's 4:30. So we have a start time, we have an end time, and we have to calculate how much time has gone by from start to finish. So I'm going to use my pen, and I'm going to write my start time, 3 o'clock. And I'm going to write my end time, 4:30. And I'm going to start with counting by hours. So from 3 o'clock, if I go up or go forward into the future 1 hour, that's 4 o'clock. So I want to count by hours first, and then I'll do minutes second. But counting by hours, I can't pass my end time. So in other words, I wouldn't say from 1 hour from 3 o'clock would be 4 o'clock. 2 hours is 5 o'clock. I don't want to go to 5 o'clock because I have to stop at 4:30. So I'm going to go from 3 to 4. 4 o'clock, that's 1 hour. So I've added 1 hour. And then I need to get from, if I add 1 hour to 3 o'clock, I've got 4 o'clock. It's kind of like a math problem, but we're using time instead of whole numbers. We're using a whole hour. And then the minutes are kind of a little bit like fractions. They're part of an hour, not a whole hour. Okay, so to get from 4 to 4:30, I'm not adding hours now. I have to add minutes. How many minutes is it from 4 o'clock to 4:30? It's 30 minutes. So I'm going to add 30 minutes. Okay, so how much time has elapsed total? I have 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so my elapsed time right here is 1 hour and 30 minutes. Not too bad, right? All right, I'm going to do another one as an example. We'll work it out over here. And then you're going to have 2 problems here to complete independently. All right, so the unit we're in now, I'm sure you figured out not fractions. We're doing measurement, but the first measurement we're going to look at is time. All right, so let me clear all that out, and we'll go to number 2. Okay, the first thing I have to do is figure out my starting time. And they've made these pretty easy because they're all on either the whole hour or the half hour. So we'll try some as we go on this week, a little bit harder, where they're not exactly on the whole hour or the half hour. Okay, so our shorthand, small hand, hour hand is pointing to the 8. So that's my hour. And then I got to calculate my minutes. Well, the minute hand is pointing where? At the 12. So it's not 8:12, it's 8 o'clock. That means 8 hours and 0 minutes after 8. So start time is 8 o'clock. I'm going to write that over here on my little, they call this a T-chart, but it's just a chart to separate our hours and minutes. And for right now, this might seem easy, but as we get into partial, like 8:23 to 12:41, it's going to be a little bit harder to calculate the elapsed time when it's not exactly on a whole hour or even a quarter hour. So this T-chart will help you then. And I just want you to get used to using that on an easier problem. All right, so let's look at our end time for this example. We start at 8. What time are we ending? Well, I'm going to look at my hour hand first, which is the small hand or the short hand on a clock. And in this case, they've color-coded it red, but we know all clocks aren't color-coded, so we can't rely on red. We have to know it's the short hand. So my short hand, hour hand, is between the 12 and the 1. It's after 12, but it's not to the 1 yet. It's not 1 o'clock. So it's 12 something. The hour is 12 because it's between 12 and 1. So it's 12 and some minutes, but it's not yet 1 o'clock. So I'm going to put my hour at 12. And now I have to figure out the minutes. Well, my minute hand or the long hand or the blue hand in this case is pointing to the 6. It's not 12:06. We know we count minutes by 5. So we start at the 12. always starting up here at the 12, and we're going to go around clockwise, which means to the right. And each number represents 5 minutes, so we'll count by fives. I don't count the 12 because that's 0. So I'm going to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 30 minutes after 12, or you can say 12:30. So my end time is going to be 12:30. So if you're watching this, you're already watching it, so I don't need to say this. And if you're not watching it, you're the one that needs to hear it. But I do need to say that some people, I record the video, I've done 2 examples. So there's no reason, well, they've done one for you and I'm doing the other one. Should at least get this one right. Some people will send work back and they've missed the ones that I've done, which tells me that they haven't watched the video. So watch the video all the way through because, there might be important information that you're going to need. So, but if you're watching me right now, you're already watching it. So thank you for watching. Okay, so now we got to calculate the elapsed time, how much time has gone by from 8 to 12:30. I'm going to start counting with hours from 8 o'clock, but I cannot pass 12:30 because that's too much time. So starting from 8, I don't count 8 because that's where we're starting. We're already at 8. So I'm going to count 9, 10, 11, 12. What comes after 12 on a clock, though? It's not 13, it's 1. 1's too far. 1 is after 12:30, so I can't use 1. So let me start again. 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 hours to 12 o'clock. So I'm going to add 4 hours. But I'm adding 0 minutes. So if I want to put the ... I can do that. I'm adding 4 hours, 0 minutes. But you don't have to put that part. So I'll just erase that. I'm going to add 4 hours to 8 o'clock. It's now 12 o'clock. And if you want to write that over here, you can. But I need to get to an ending time of 12:30. So how many minutes do I need to add to get to, and I guess I could have separated this so that we had 0, 8 o'clock. Maybe this would be an easier way to do it. Let's see if this makes sense. So I have 12 hours and 30 minutes. This is where I'm ending. And I started with at 8 o'clock. Maybe this will make it a little bit easier. So I started at 8. I added 4 hours to 12 o'clock. But I've added nothing in my minutes. Now I got to get from 12 o'clock to 12:30. So how many minutes do I need to add to get from 12 o'clock to 12:30? Well, I need to add 30 minutes. Yeah, I think that makes more sense to me. So we'll set it up this way going forward. So how many hours did I add? I added 4 hours. And how many minutes did I add? And I can tell by the plus sign, I added 30 minutes. So what is my elapsed time here? 4 hours and 30 minutes. I'm just going to put a comma because space. I've abbreviated hours and minutes. And if you even want to use a H and an M, 4H, 30M, that's okay too. So I could have written this as 4 hours. So depending on how big you write, or some of you have been just using a text box and typing it, and that's okay too. Either way, just make sure that you complete the last 2 problems, and then you're gonna send it back on Seesaw so that or you can take a picture and send it, however is easiest for you. If you're not sure how to do that, ask someone at home to help you, and if nobody at home can help you, then reach out to me and I'll try to help you through it, okay? So elapsed time, 2 more problems. We're gonna do some more of these, getting a little bit harder, a little more complicated, where they're not all starting on a whole hour or a half hour. So when you get into minutes, it can get a little bit trickier, but I think this T-chart will help you, okay? All right, thanks guys. I'll see you on Zoom shortly. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you soon. The pointer. And